Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. We have the latest news on the monetary policy, and I think we are going to be forced to use the ZIG, like it or not. Please like and subscribe so that it helps us with the algorithm of YouTube. The governor was in Bulawayo endorsing his monetary policy, and in it he gave us some snippets of what is to come. I don't think we'll have a choice about this ZIG, guys, like it or not. Let's just listen to what he was saying in Bulawayo.
I came to Bulawayo so that we can unpack the monetary policy statement that we issued on the 5th of April together. Some people have said the central bank does not accept criticism. Far from the truth. We are here to hear your views. As Zimbabweans, let's have what I call constructive criticism. I want you to say to me, this thing doesn't work, do it in this way. Or you are in the right direction, but can we tweak this and that? But if you just say it doesn't work, and then you don't tell me what to do, so what are we supposed to do? Stay the course where we were? We know that we're not moving in the right direction. So I'm hoping that from this meeting, we are going to have meaningful dialogue, criticism. Tell me what is wrong. I will accept. Tell us what needs to be done, and we'll go to the central bank and work on it. Let's work together as Zimbabweans to make this work. Before coming up with the monetary policy statement, as I said earlier on, we made wide consultations. You may not know this, but let me tell you. I was told that I was going to be governor of the central bank on 11 September 2023. You didn't know about that. And from that time, I started making consultations and working towards assuming duty, which I eventually did on the 28th of March. The official appointment was made on the 8th of December. So during that period, we consulted with CZI. A lot of what you see in the monetary policy statement came from there. We consulted with Chamber of Mines. We consulted with the Association of Retailers. We consulted with civil society. We consulted with eminent people, what I call opinion leaders. With this, I will tell you that we had a breakfast meeting at the Mikos with selected opinion leaders. And I say to them, I'm moving into this job. Tell me what you want me to do. And the result of it is what you saw in the monetary policy statement. We also didn't know much about a structured currency. We got a consultant from the World Bank who came to us, and a lot of the things that you are seeing about the structured currency actually came from the World Bank. So if you're going to blame me, you're actually blaming the World Bank. Maybe they didn't advise us properly. And if they did not advise us properly, it's fine. Let's refine it. So I just wanted to give you the background to how we came up with the monetary policy statement. I did not have a prepared speech, because what I want to do today is to say what we have done, why we did it, and the feedback that we have received, and try and clarify, because there have been some misconceptions in terms of, number one, what is it that we're trying to achieve? And number two, this animal called ZIG that we have introduced, is it really backed by anything? Is it going to work? Is it the right thing? Is the exchange rate right? And so forth. So those are some of the things I'm going to try and unpack for you. And I know we're going to have panel discussions later on, where again more questions are going to be posed, and I'm here to answer them to your satisfaction. If I can't answer them, I will undertake to go and look at it and see how we can address them. First of all, as His Worship the Mayor pointed out, we realize that we are operating in an environment where everyone was demanding the US dollar. Dumisan said it. He said, you cannot compete with the US dollar. It's a strong currency. And so we said, we need to address that. The currency was volatile. You saw it from January. I went into the central bank and we said, people are saying we should allow market forces to prevail. Let's allow market forces to prevail. From January, the central bank did not interfere in the determination of the exchange rate. And you saw what happened. The premium over the parallel market rate was narrowing until we got to 33,000 as at the 5th of April when we unveiled the monetary policy statement. And I think the parallel market rate had started going down. It was almost the same. So those were market forces at play. But still, we had a currency that was very weak, that was depreciating every day, every week, and we had to correct that. The issue of confidence is one of the issues that was pointed out by all the people we consulted. They said people don't have confidence in the central bank, they don't have confidence in the currency, you must do something about it. And we then try to do something about it in the monetary policy statement. The issue of reduced demand for the local currency. It's all very well to have a local currency, but if your people are not using it, then it's not going to go anywhere. The only people who were forced to accept the local currency were the city councils, as you say, Yosh, and the supermarkets. The rest of the economy was doing what it wants. So we asked ourselves the question, how do we create demand for the local currency without forcing people? You don't force people to accept your currency. They must accept it on their own. And hence the measures that we came up with. Then there was also the issue, again pointed out by the people that we consulted, of excessive money supply growth. And I think I did say in my presentation of the monetary policy statement that if printing money could make nations prosperous, there would be no poor nation. But we have learned our lesson. We, at one time, were talking of trillions of dollars as banknotes, and again, we were again heading in that direction. And so we needed to come up with a policy that addressed that issue. Then there was also the issue of reserves. For a currency to be worth its value, it has to be backed by reserves. Our reserves had been seriously depleted. If you looked at the amount of money in circulation versus the reserves that we had, it was only a tiny fraction. And hence, our currency was in free fall because it didn't have the necessary support. So, we then came up with the objectives to say, given that, what is it that we want? We want a national currency which is stable. Everyone wants that. You want to see the price of bread being 13 zig in January and 13 zig in December. That's what everyone wants so that they can budget. His Worship the Mayor was saying it's difficult now for city councils to budget. They got, is it $7 billion when it was still worth something? By the time they were about to use it, it was not worth anything. We don't want that. So that's one of the reasons or strategic objectives of this monetary policy statement. And of course, it comes with a stable and sustainable exchange rate and again, restoration of market confidence. Again, I keep borrowing from what you said, Your Worship. Market confidence cannot be legislated. can pass as many laws as you want and say you shall be confident. They will not. We have to earn it and walk the talk. And this is some of the things that we are going to do. So this is why and how we introduced the ZIG. But first of all, let me address the issue which Dumisani raised on the exchange rate, to say we pegged it too low and therefore our currency is now the strongest in SADC and it makes everything uncompetitive. Yes, he is right. But in arriving at the starting exchange rate, we looked at the interbank rate that was prevailing on the day we introduced the ZIG, which was about 33,000. Because ZIG is currently predominantly anchored by gold, we looked at the gold price, London PM fix for the 4th of April, and using those factors, we came up with the conversion factor of about 2,500 ZWL to ZIG. Now, what Dumisani probably missed is that, number one, ZIG is not 100% backed by gold. We made that very clear in the monetary policy statement. ZIG is based by gold, other precious minerals that we are collecting as royalties, and foreign currency balances in our Nostro account at the Federals in New York. So, while the starting exchange rate may have been influenced by the price of gold, going forward, we did say that the exchange rate for ZIG to other currencies is going to be market determined. And this is what has happened from the 8th of April when ZIG started trading against the other currencies up to now. The banks have been quoting bid and offer rates based on demand from their customers from the market, and the exchange rates that we have seen have not been influenced at all by the central bank, have not been influenced at all by the price of gold. In fact, what we are doing as the central bank is that in the background, we are running a scenario where we are saying on any particular day, what is the gold implied exchange rate? What is the reserve basket implied exchange rate? Just to, so that we, and meanwhile, we are watching what is happening in the market. And you'll be pleased to know that there's not much disparity between what we are seeing happening under the gold implied exchange rate and the basket implied exchange rate. There's a difference, but not much. And we are monitoring that. So going forward, the exchange rate will continue to be market determined. Supply and demand. When the demand for ZIG increases, it may be inevitable that ZIG will continue to further strengthen. And I'll touch on that. So, Dumisani, the exchange rate has not been determined by the central bank, it's been determined by the market, and will continue to be determined by the market going forward. Yes, like any central bank, from time to time, because we are running this model in the background, we will intervene if we see that the rate is going out of kilter. And how do we intervene? We either sell, go in the market and sell US dollars, or go in the market and buy US dollars. The other issue that has been raised, I've been reading social media and so forth, people don't believe that we have the reserves. We did say that on the day that we introduced ZIG, we had 2.5 tons of gold, which were worth about 185 million at the price ruling on that day. And we had just over 100 million US dollars in Nostro balances, making a total of 284 million. out of the need to make you believe that this is what is there, I requested His Excellency the President to say, please come to the Central Bank on the 4th of April. We opened the vaults for all to see. This has never been done in the history of the Central Bank. But we know that there are doubting Thomases out there, and we opened the vaults for all to see. Granted, there's not too much gold. I'm sure, Excellent the Mayor, if you were a miner, you could probably make more than a ton yourself a year. But that's where we are starting from. We have reserves of $285 million US dollars comprised of gold and cash. But what we also must consider is that the total amount of Zimbabwe dollars in circulation as at the 5th of April, when we introduced the new currency, was 2.6 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. Convert that at the exchange rate of 33,000, it was coming up to just over 80 million US dollars. So, forget about the gold if you think it was stolen, of which I don't know of any gold that was stolen, but let's forget about it. Just focus on the cash. We have 100 million US dollars cash, and we have local currency worth $80 million. What that means is that if the central bank wanted, we could buy all your ZiG, all of it. You remain with nothing, give you your US dollars. Therefore, we are more than covered just from a cash perspective. If you then add the gold, we are more than 3 times covered in terms of reserves. And that is what anchors a currency. And we did make an undertaking in the monetary policy statement that we are not going to increase the amount of money in circulation until and unless we have enough reserves to back that currency. So you are not going to see an increase in money supply, which is not followed by a concomitant increase in reserves. And we are going to walk that talk. How are we going to make sure that happens? I think someone leaked an internal memo that I sent to staff at the central bank. And from that, you would have seen that we have already established a committee that is looking at everything that we mentioned in the monetary policy statement and saying, are we in line? If we are not in line, what is it that we must do immediately to correct it? Every day, I get on my phone, we've created a dashboard which tells me what is the market position in terms of liquidity versus our reserves. What is the price of gold today? What is the price of other commodities? And what is our exchange rate as determined by the market? How far are we? How much Forex did we buy from surrender today? How much did we sell into the market? And how much have we used to build our reserves? Because again, the question that keeps coming up is that, okay, you are starting with 285 million in reserves. What next? His Excellency, as far back as last year, directed that instead of royalties from miners being paid to Treasury, they are now supposed to be paid to the central bank. So if you are a gold miner, you pay your royalties in kind, the gold comes to the central bank. If you are a platinum miner, you give us platinum, that comes to the central bank. If you are lithium, the same. But the central bank, we don't know how to store platinum, we don't know how to store diamonds, their price moves up and down, we don't know how to store lithium. So we immediately sell those and convert into gold. So that's how we are growing our gold. If for a moment you assume, and if it's true, that this country did 40 tons of gold last year, and 5% is royalties, it means 2 tons of gold every year coming our way to the central bank to boost those reserves. And that way, we can then start increasing the amount of money in circulation. So, We also said we needed to address the demand for the local currency. And we negotiated with the Treasury to say, if you as government are not accepting your own currency, how do you expect the generality of Zimbabwe to accept it? And they said, fine, we are happy to do that. Currently, Zimbabwe is trading at between 80 and 85% in US dollars and 15 to 20% in local currency. Treasury said we will agree that 50% of QPD payments are made in local currency. So they are already ahead. We as the central bank had given them our rough roadmap towards de-dollarization. We had said we're on 80-20 now. If we can maybe be 70-30 by year end, maybe 60-40 by end of 2025, and maybe 50-50 by end of 2026. They are already at 50-50. So they have created a situation now where if you just look at the proportion of US dollars and Zim dollars in the market, they are going to create a lot of demand for ZiG come the next QPD. And here's the other math. I've been told by Treasury that every quarter they collect plus or minus 300 million for QPDs, USD. 50% of that is 150 million USD. They want it in ZiG, but there is only 80 million worth of ZiG in the market. So there is going to be serious demand for ZiG. Yesterday in Gweru, people were saying to me, oh, no, you can't have that. Why are Treasury saying they want 50%? They must allow me to pay what I want. You can't have that. You asked for ZiG to have a market, creating a market for ZiG, and now you want to say, I want to pay what I want. They want to pay in US dollars now because they know there's going to be serious demand for ZiG, and therefore ZiG is likely to strengthen. But that is what we want as a country. We want a stable currency. We want a currency where there is demand for that currency. So that is what we are going to do. The other issue which has been raised is that the central bank is a piggy bank for government. They will come in and take the money when they want, and they will order us to give them the money, and we will say nothing. Well, again, those are perceptions, and nothing can be further from the truth. I think I have been on record for saying, when I went into the central bank, I was also of the same impression. I looked at the books, looked back to say, show me the overdraft of Treasury in the Reserve Bank over the past month, over the past year, over the past 2 years. Nothing. Treasury has not borrowed from the central bank at all. In the Reserve Bank Act, there is a provision that if Treasury were to borrow from the central bank, they borrow it according to a formula. But we are not necessarily going to apply that formula because, again, as I've said before, the way Treasury approaches us as their banker is the same way you approach your bank. You cannot go to your bank manager and say, I demand that you give me $100,000 overdraft. They'll just open the door for you and show you out. Same story with us. If there is a genuine need, for example, for Treasury to borrow, let's assume it's 10 days before QPD and they need to pay wages and we know exactly what they are going to collect. Like any bank, I'm coming from the banking sector. I'd look at it as a credit proposal and approve it on that basis because there is a source of repayment inside. But again, they have never borrowed from the central bank and I don't expect them to. So I thought I would also dispel that notion. Same applies to, is the central bank independent or not independent? The functions of the central bank are clearly spelled out in the Banking Act. Yes, we report to His Excellency the President. Before presenting this monetary policy statement, I took it to His Excellency the President and said, this is what we want to do. And he said, yes, that is what you must do. And this is what I actually want you to do. So if he has said to me, don't print any money unless you have reserves, why would he then say print money, you don't have reserves? He is the one who gave me that instruction. So I just thought I would also make this clear. So my appeal to you as the Bulawayo communities, can we please give this new aircraft a chance? The pilot is new. He does have quite a lot of hours flying time. Let's make it work instead of us just saying it's not going to work. The reason we came down to Bulawayo is for us to unpack it and also to explain the features of everything, because we have been accused as the central bank that we just tell people in Harare what it is like. We don't go out in the areas to explain. I was in Gweru yesterday. I'm here today. Next week we're going to be in Mutare. The next week we're going to be in Masvingo. Personally explaining to the people. Over and above that, you are going to be seeing, there's a local radio here, radio station. We're going to be unpacking the mandatory policy statement on that station. Local newspapers in the region, Radio Zimbabwe. Even our own people, including the Minister of Information, has volunteered to say they are prepared to go and spread the message about ZIG. Another question, why are the ZIG notes and coins not yet in circulation? Big question, that one. Again, when you introduce a new currency, if you're just going to dump it on the people without explaining it, it won't fly. There are a lot of unscrupulous people out there who can go to a rural area and convince someone that this is the new ZIG when it's not. And the poor peasant parts with a beast, a goat, a hen, and it's not fair. So we said, let's give it time. The electronic ZIG is already there. Your accounts have all been converted to ZIG. But the money ZIG is coming on the 30th of April after we have fully explained the features of that currency. And we thought it's only right to do it that way. Before I conclude, I want to say that we have also started running what I might call a survey on what you think about the ZIG. Are you prepared to accept it or not? And I think the people from our PR department will circulate the QR code for you. We want to start with this audience here. Tell us what you think. But not only that, if you write to us as the central bank and make a suggestion to say, can you do it differently? Do it like this. We will listen. It's our country. We don't have a monopoly of ideas. Even at the central bank, I'm just their spokesperson. I cannot know everything. We work as a team, as a governor, deputy governors, directors in charge of everything. There is no way I can say I know everything. It's not possible. And we also rely on you as the people, as the consumers of ZIG, to let us know what you feel about it, what it is that we can change. We already got feedback to say, but you are entering at 1 ZIG, and 1 ZIG is equal to 6 US cents. So are you saying a sweet in a shop is going to cost 6 cents? And we listened. And we are going to introduce lower denomination ZIG coins so that the issue of divisibility, issue of change is fully addressed. So thank you very much, Mr. MC. I think it's better that I address questions that come from the floor, because what I've just told you is what I have picked up so far. Thank you.
Kupindira kwaishe marongera